stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'll turn it over to Mr. Tyndall.
First of all, thank you everyone for being here today. We were not able to hold a meeting back in January due to the ice storm. I hope everyone fared okay there. First order of business typically in January is election of our officers for 2026. So we're going to take that right now. I'll open the floor for nominations for chairman for 2026.
I nominate Jeff Henley.
All right, I've got a nomination for Jeff Henley. Do you
I
have
second.
any? Gotcha. We have any other nominations? All right, I'll close the floor for that. All those in favor of Jeff Henley for chairman for 2026, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, Jeff, you got it for 2026. Second officer is vice chair. Can I have a nomination for vice chair for 2026?
Nominate Valerie Guzman.
I second.
All right, any other nominations? I do have a nomination for Valerie Guzman for vice chair for 2026. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
And that carries. Congratulations, Jeff and Valerie. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next order of business is the approval of the December 23, 2025 minutes and the special called February 6th session. Any additions, deletions, or motions?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Oh, any opposed? None? All right. All right, minutes are approved. All right, now I'll turn it over to Mr. Tyndall for announcements, deferrals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First order, I'm going to call everyone's attention to the back page, item D under other business. It's marked on your agenda as deferred. It was on our agenda last week. It was not marked deferred. We acknowledge this error, but it will have action today. It does not require a public hearing on letter D there. The Planning Commission will discuss that and forward that resolution to the city and county for their consideration. In other business, we do have one withdrawal of a zoning case and one deferral, and I'll read those to the record here. On page number 6, item number 23, Z54 2025 application of Naru Real Estate from O1 to C1 has been withdrawn. And on page 7, item number 29, Z6 2026 application of William Ballou for AG to R1 on Needmore Road is recommended for deferral. Commissioners, put that to you in a form of a motion.
All right, Commissioners, we need a motion and a
I
second.
make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, probably made second on the deferrals. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, those are deferred.
All right, first items up today are our subdivisions and site plan cases. All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the staff of the Regional Planning Commission and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the audience, commission, or staff may request that an item be removed for separate consideration. Mr. Parker, is staff removing any from the consent agenda?
No, everything that's removed by staff or public has already done so, and that's at the end of the agenda, near the end of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Any commissioners need to remove any additional cases from the consent agenda? Anyone from the public like to remove a specific site plan or subdivision case from the consent agenda? Please raise your hand and let us know. Yes, sir.
SR 02 2026 and SR 18 2026.
SR 2 2026, Nick Madonia, Chase Bank. That will be recommended for deferral, so we'll take that up next month.
Okay.
So no real reason, if you don't mind, no real reason to withdraw that. We will have a public hearing on that next month when it's ready. And then you said S6, SR 18, I apologize. That one is also, yeah, Persinger Place Apartments, that is also recommended for deferral. They do need to go to the Common Design Review Board next month before we take action. Are there any others from the public? Yes, back there.
Not sure
Crest Properties, east of Fort Campbell Boulevard and Concord Drive. Okay, we will pull that one from the consent agenda for the West Bel Air Townhomes. Anyone else? These are the items on the first 5 pages. Yes, sir.
Sorry, is SR 22 part of the consent agenda?
It will be.
Please remove.
Okay. SR 22.
22.
All right, last call. All right, Mr. Parker, please read the items. Oh, last call, yes. SR 19.
That's the deferred one.
Okay, yeah, we will discuss that one separately. All right, Mr. Parker, would you read the remaining cases into the consent agenda?
Yes, let me mark. Yes, sir. Let me mark those real quick. Please give me just a second. 19 and 22. Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Our first cases for the consent agenda. First, we have subdivisions, case number S11-2026. The owner's Green Space Partners. The request is for preliminary plat approval of Quarry Section 3. That property is zoned R2A, single-family residential. 36 lots are proposed, and the staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR87-2025. The applicant is Todd Morris. It's 2265 Trenton Road, mixed use. This is recommended for deferral. Case number SR1-2026. This is Blick Homes is the name, LLC is the name of the development at 726 Main Street. It's multifamily is the proposed use, currently zoned CBD, Central Business District, 6 units proposed. Staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR2-2026 is Chase Bank, Hilldale Heights. This is recommended for deferral. Case number SR3-2026, the applicant is Charles Gerls. The development's Bellamy Lane Storage at 405 Bellamy Lane. The proposed use is a storage lot, zone C5. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR4-2026, the applicant is Eric Honeycutt. The development is the Millie at Midtown at 1494 Golf Club Lane. The proposed use is multifamily. It's zoned R4, and the number of units is 64. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR5-2026, applicant is Black Pat Properties, LLC. The development's 1221 Vine Street. That is the location as well. It is multifamily, zoned R3 with 3 units proposed. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR6-2026. The applicant is Shelton Covington. The development is Gold Storage. Proposed use is self-storage, zone C5. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR10-2026. Applicant is South 7th Street, LLC. Also the name of the development. It's at 203, 207, 215 South 7th Street. The proposed use is multifamily. Property is zoned CBD, and it's 39 proposed units. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR11-2026 is CFA 06163 Fort Campbell. This is also recommended for deferral. Case number SR1226 is Legacy Nursery, with the development being called Legacy Nursery Supply Center at 731 Kennedy Lane. The property is zoned C5. The staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR13-2026. The applicant is Immaculate Conception. Name is of the development also Immaculate Conception Catholic Church at 1901 Madison Street. Currently zoned R4, and the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the conditions listed. SR14-2026. The applicant is Foxman LLC Development. The property is at 1000 Bullion Drive. Proposed use is industrial, zoned M2. The staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. SR 15 2026. The applicant is Clarksville Stone LLC. The development is OEM Tube Assembly Parking Addition at 191 Stone Container Drive. The property is zoned M3, and the staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. SR 16 2026. The applicant is Nariana Ventures LLC. The development's called Sango Crossing at 41 Building 300. It's at 125 Sango Drive, Lot 3. Proposed use is retail, zone C5, and the staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. Case number SR 17 2026. The applicant is again Nariana Ventures LLC. The development is Sango Crossing at 41 Building 400. Location 125 Sango Drive, Lot 4, zone C5. The use is retail, and the staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. SR 18 2026, Persinger Place Apartments. The recommendation is for deferral. SR 19 was removed from the consent agenda. SR 21 2026, the applicant is Fort Campbell Federal Credit Union. Forterra Bank Addition is the name of the development. That is at 2050 Lowe's Drive. Property is zoned C3, and the staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions listed. And again, SR 22 2026 has also been removed from the consent agenda. Thank you.
Since that was a large consent agenda, just double checking there's no one else to pull anything. All right, commissioners, you heard the recommendations for the site plans and subdivisions. Entertain any motions.
I abstain from SR 4 2026.
We have one abstention.
Second. I make a motion for approval.
All right, we have a motion and a properly made second. All those in favor on the consent agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda passes. Hold on. Let me say mine. You skipped me earlier.
Yeah, we're going into zoning now.
Yeah. All right. Just to remind everybody, we're going to go into public hearing on the next zoning cases and all the cases actually, and everybody's going to have three people are going to have an opportunity to speak in favor. 3 people will have an opportunity to speak against for 3 minutes, and then there will be an opportunity for rebuttal. I would also like to remind everyone that the zoning cases are, when yes or no from this body, are going to be passed on to the city council or the county commission, depending on where they're located at. So if you're interested in the case from here going forward, check with where the next city council meeting is or the next county commission meeting, or you can call this office for more information, okay? And now I'll turn it over to Mr. Tyndall for the first case.
Just as an order of housekeeping, the 2 items pulled from the consent agenda will be heard on the after the zoning cases here, after the current business. First case up today, commissioners, we have Z48 2025, application of Kevin Huh. This is 5.65 acres, currently zoned M1 light industrial and requesting to go to C5 highway and arterial commercial. It's two parcels fronting College Street east of College and Craft Street intersection. It's currently a strip commercial development. The applicant's statement is to bring this into line with the existing property use. It was previously zoned in 1969 to M1. The department comments and concerns. The street department did require a traffic assessment on this. It took a while to get it nailed down with the department, but they did eventually accept the conclusions. The conclusions is obviously that intersection is already operating poorly, but this does not add any additional traffic to it. Any future site plan or subdivision may be subject to additional repair, replace of sidewalks or driveway openings as necessary. There were no other comments or concerns from the other departments. On page number 4 in your tablet, you can see the current location of the property. On page 5 is the zoomed in aerial. On page 6 is the future land use area. The comprehensive plan identifies this intersection on this side of the road as corridor commercial, and C5 would agree with that. And on page 7 is the existing zoning map. Staff does recommend approval. The proposed C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District request aligns with the corridor commercial future land use designation. It appears that this zone change request will bring existing uses that are currently legal non-conforming on this parcel into zoning compliance. The submitted traffic assessment details current conditions and worst-case development scenario. Traffic volumes and PM peak delays are expected to increase while the overall level of service F remains unchanged. Any future development should include mitigation strategies outlined in the traffic assessment and under the review of Clarksville Street Department and TDOT. I'll happy to answer any questions, commissioners.
Commissioners, any questions? All right, we're gonna open up public hearing on Z48 2025. Would anyone like to speak in favor? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against Z48 2025? We're gonna exit public hearing. Commissioners?
I make a motion for approval based on the proposed C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District request aligns with the corridor commercial future land use designation.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Z48 2025 passes.
All right, next case up is Z53 2025, application of Larry Riccone. Agent is Larry Riccone, I apologize. Applicant of Tommy and Reese Byard. This is 10.77 acres, currently zoned R1 Single Family Residential District and requesting to go to R2A Single Family Residential District. Property is known as 1911 Old Russellville Pike. It's a long, narrow track with a single family home on site, a pond at the rear of the property near the railroad track. This is in the St. B planning area of the comprehensive plan. This has a lot of previous zoning history. Back in 2006, it requested to go to R4 and was withdrawn. In 2007, it requested to go to a PUD, approved by the Planning Commission, denied by City Council. And just last month, it was requested to go to R6, but amended to R2A. Department comments and concerns. It was below the threshold for a traffic assessment due to the number of lots. Sidewalk will be required, and access will be determined by the city ordinance at development phase. Under drainage, a hydrology report was submitted based on the current drainage conditions. This report was provided to the street department, and comments received by the street department stated that the mitigation steps were acceptable to them. Applicant statement is 49 lots. We got that from the hydrology report, and the historic estimates we would have at 48, so right in line with R2A. On page 11 of your staff report, you can see the property in question. Zoomed in on page 12, the existing neighborhood to the right and a multifamily neighborhood to the left. The future land use puts this right at the edge of a suburban neighborhood and mixed residential neighborhood, and I'll refer to that in the staff report. And you can see the current zoning of R4 and R1 and a little bit of R2 in the area. Back to the staff recommendation on page 10. Staff does recommend approval. The proposed R2A single-family residential request provides an appropriate transition between the existing R4 multifamily district and the R1 single-family residential district, which is consistent with the guiding principles of the adopted comprehensive plan. This zoning request represents an incremental increase in single-family residential density while maintaining compatibility with the surrounding development pattern. Documented drainage concerns exist in the area. Regardless of the outcome of the zone change, it is recommended that appropriate attention be given to addressing and remediating the adverse drainage conditions identified in the hydrology report. Any future development proposals, regardless of zoning, will require careful review of stormwater management and drainage considerations. Similar issues have been successfully addressed through compliance with current regulations and established review processes. I'll be happy to answer any questions, commissioners.
Yes, Ms. Friedman.
Mr. Tyndall, it's currently zoned R1. And I know you stated that it could get 48, 49 with the R2A zoning, but how many lots could they get with it as it's currently zoned as R1?
Yeah, there's a little bit of topo to take into consideration, but an R1 cluster down to 6,000 square foot lots with, there's plenty of open space in the back with that pond. We figured that could be in the mid 30s. Yep.
Ms. Guzman?
Yeah, so my question is, right now they can build without any conditions on fixing any of the flooding, is that correct? Or would they still have to? I'm
We-
just want to make sure.
Yes, and we do have a representative of the street department to answer any specific questions, but the answer to that question is any development that comes in that's more than a single family house on the one lot, anytime they subdivide it, anytime they build anything else on there, will have to address the drainage concerns on and around the property.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're going to open up public hearing on Z53 2025. Would anyone like to speak in favor?
Hello, Larry Riccone, 308 South 2nd Street. Great questions. I was going to address those. But first of all, when I finish, we're going to let one of the landowners speak, which, always meant something to me when I was, in positions like that. But this is, to me, example of it working, right? It was submitted, came up, we saw hydrology issues, we saw water issues, and so what do? The developer at that point pulled back. Developer consulted with his engineer, Mr. McKay. Mr. McKay consulted with the street department extensively, and I know has been in communications with the RPC on how do we address this issue. Because as it sits, until somebody develops it, it's not going to be fixed unless the city taxes and spends money. And there's many other problems and better use of money than that right now. So the development of it will fix the issues for the neighbors. So in doing this, we came back, we re-engineered it, we did the hydrology report, which shows a way to fix it. We went from R1 to the R2A, we actually downgraded, we would have had up to 71 lots. Now we're showing up to a maximum of 49, which our estimates show plus 20. So I think y'all said plus 19, we'll say plus 19 or 20. Marginal increase in density at that point from what it could be used today. And in today's world, as just an economic fact, if you're going to get 20 lots out of it, you can't fix the hydrology. You can't fix it with that. You're going to have to get some more density. So this is the least amount of density we could get by stepping back from the R6 to the R2A to where it still was economically feasible to fix the issues. So when it's developed, the hydrology issues will be fixed. It's going to be in the overview and it'll be oversight. Density increases marginally more. Again, we're saying 19 to 20 more, not the 71, which was first asked for today. Worked really hand in hand with the engineer and the street department to get this going. So to me, it's really an example of making the development work. And when it's developed, the city doesn't have to fix it. This is developer will incur all the costs and all the expense at that point. The developer has been genuinely enthusiastic with this and meeting with the neighbors. They had meetings on Sunday. I'm sure there are people that are probably here that are going to speak against this. We know that happens from time to time. But there are people who support this, and we've done everything we can do to work hand in hand with them. Not to beat the dead horse, but we again think this is the highest and best use. It's a marginal increase, and it fixes the hydrology and the drainage. Because if this doesn't go, I don't know who fixes it at this point, and then everybody around there is going to suffer. We'd ask that you support this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak in favor of Z53 2025? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Debbie Hagewood. I'm the daughter of Reese Byard. This was our family farm. They bought it in 1963. It's the only home place I've ever known. So the land beside it was all farmland. We rode our horses, we had cows, we had all kinds of animals there. So this property does mean a lot to us. This is very hard for us, but I feel that we have a great contractor that is willing to make some of these concerns of the neighbors taken care of. I want it to be taken care of, and I want it to be made good for our neighbors because of it being our family farm. The property, like I said, was originally a horse farm. So there has always been animals there. There's always been a pond at the back of the property. It's a man-made pond. Right now, it probably doesn't have 2 foot of water in it. My dad made it when he built our home there. We never had an issue with any water on the farm until apartments was built on one side of the farm and a subdivision was built on the other. Then it all came to us. So when they built the apartments, they did put a big water hole back there to collect the water. But in the majority of the time it will if the pipes are kept maintained. But a lot of times they get filled up with debris. For instance, the one that comes from the front of the property on the side where the apartments is, the people that cuts the bushes and the trees and stuff, they throw the debris in the ditch. So my brother, he's all the time cleaning it out, burning the debris. And when it's cleaned out, the water flows fine. Our property hasn't changed a bit. I mean, they did raise some of the property when they built the apartments on one side. So all that land has never changed. Our farm has never changed. I just feel like if the pipes were maintained and done correctly, it would solve the water problem. And I think we are blessed to have a contractor that's willing to work with this to build nice homes on this property for the existing neighborhoods around us. So I really ask that you really consider this to be rezoned for R2A homes to come on that property. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of Z53 2025? All right, seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against Z53 2025? Come on up, sir.
Good afternoon. Eric Lawrence, 724 RS Bradley Boulevard. Ma'am, that was emotional. I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Thank you.
I think that there's some interesting aspects of this going from R6 now down to R2. I do believe in a different area there was some hydraulic studies that were done that the impact was more significant than was originally planned. So I would ask this council to respectfully defer this and have maybe another independent study done, because I think the impact on the hydrology with more homes and a city that we continue to build in would be advantageous for us to look at. I know there's also some initiatives where other things can be built there with respect to the farm and the property of your family legacy, as far as trees or other shrubbery. There's a lot of constituents in this county, or I'm sorry, this city, that see housing just going up, and we do respectfully studies that are 70 or 80%, and this isn't a self-leaking ice cream cone. Anytime we put more concrete, more block, more CMU, more cars, more asphalt, the water has to go somewhere. And with the pond already being on that property and some of the other issues with hydrology in that area, I think there's more studies that need to be done, respectfully. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak against Z53 2025?
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Austin. I live at 274 Cheshire Road. It's obvious that the drainage has to be repaired there. We have standing water flooding right now. Another reason that we oppose this development, you got to put 49 houses on 7 acres. You got a 10-acre lot, but only 7 is going to be used. That's probably going to bring in anywhere from 75 to 100 vehicles trying to get in and out of there every day. You got one entrance now. Another entrance will probably cut through Stepford Avenue going into Middleton Place. That's just gonna, all that's gonna do is increase the traffic in the neighborhood, plus increase the traffic and cause more problems at the intersection of Dunbar Cave and Old Russellville Pike. Something needs to be done with that intersection before any other houses or development is happens in that area. Our subdivision is R1. It was bought that way. The character of this new development will not fit what we have now. So we respectfully request you oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, have room for one more to speak against Z53 2025, if there's anyone.
I wasn't originally going to speak. How are you all doing today?
Good, come on up.
I live at Mark Remini, 266 Cheshire. The issues I see with it now, and I don't know how much time you all have to go down Old Russellville Pike. It's already so narrow, and the houses on Old Russellville Pike are already built up on the road, so it's not like Old Russellville Pike can be widened. You also have the flooding concern, even if the pipes are cleared out on Old Russellville Pike. That water transfers to the back, which is already coming up to the houses during extensive rains. And then if you look on the other side of the train tracks from there, that whole area is a water runoff in between the co-op and Sunbelt Rental. So on both sides of the train track, the water collects. So that's basically all I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, can we get your name again? Sorry.
Mark Remini, R-E-M-I-N-I.
Thank you.
All right, would any of the speakers that spoke in favor like to rebut?
We appreciate their concerns. And, you know, I can present to you, we've done everything asked of us. The hydrology report speaks volumes, and they did take into account the higher density. And again, we're only talking about increasing density 19, at max 19, and maybe not even 19. Traffic study was not required. It's a blank piece of land that is going to get developed at some point, and now is the time because we can fix the drainage issues, and it will actually cure all the problems for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to exit public hearing. Commissioners? Is Mr. Joe Green with the street department here today? Yes, sir. I was just wondering if maybe you could address some of the water issues everybody's discussing up here.
So yeah, we've taken a look at the hydrology report, and we don't normally see a hydrology report submitted with a rezoning request, but we looked at it. I looked at it, and I understand what they're trying to accomplish with it, and I think it's a good plan moving forward. But it's going to require a grading permit at further development, which, you know, it's obviously that's where it's headed to, subdivision. So we'll be looking at it again at during the grading permit review process. And you know, I think one of the speakers had mentioned compensatory cut that was provided by the apartment complex, similar to what the apartment complex would do is what I think would be required here to handle the additional impervious area and runoff that would be created by the development.
Okay, so there's quite a few more steps in this process.
Quite a few,
just for
yes.
everybody, you know, looking at the water issues
Absolutely,
and things like that and trying to
yes.
remedy it. Okay.
They'll be required to meet detention and water quality standards.
Okay.
Mr. Green, there was some mention about the pond, but also from the Russellville Road side. And I remember our discussions about a week ago. Those are two different issues, one going in one direction, one in the other, and they really don't compound each other. Is it true that the pond in the back drains toward the railroad tracks and out to the north, whereas the rest of the property drains down towards Russellville Pike? And that, again, what you mentioned during subdivision would be figured out with a grading plan and compensatory cut on site.
Correct. The pond was I spoke with Orville Sykes at our department, and he said a number of years ago a pipe was installed underneath the railroad track to provide an outlet for that pond so that it wouldn't get as high as it anymore. So that pipe does exist and has been helping to control the flooding of that pond. But you're correct. The water does drain back toward that pond.
Any other commissioners have questions for the street department? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Commissioners, what do you want to do?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion for approval properly made second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, Z53 2025 passes.
All right, commissioners, we will pick up on page 37 on your tablets. Reminder, Z54 was withdrawn. So this is Z1 2026, application of Mark and Catherine Barton. This is a request to go from R4 multiple family residential district to CBD central business district. This is 3 parcels located at the north intersection of Wilcox Street and Marion Street. Approximately 0.39 acres. It's 3 parcels. It'll remain 3 parcels. The applicant's statement is to rezone to accommodate for a pool. This one does have an interesting backstory. I'm not going to get too much into it unless we need to. Oops. There were no other department comments or concerns related to this request. On page number 40 of your tablet is the overview. 41 is the zoomed in version. So what you're looking at there on page 41 is 3 parcels, 2 homes, and 1 parcel behind it. That is a private alley behind it. So that's how the properties do connect. That's not a public street separating them. And then you can see the next page is the future land use map. This is in the downtown urban core. And there is a mix of CBD and R4 all around these properties. Some are single family homes, some are townhomes, some are businesses. This applicant came to us back in December, I want to say, maybe even late November. They went to the code department first to get a pool permit, and then they could not get it because it's a standalone parcel, so they needed to add it to their current property, but we found out in the process that it had been improperly subdivided many years ago to the neighbor. And R4, since 2010, does not allow for single-family homes on single properties. So these are all legal non-conforming properties. So the CBD does help bring these into legal conformance, which will then allow us to subdivide the property properly, and then they can pull a pool permit before summertime. So a long way around it. We racked our brains about like how to get this accommodated, and we felt this was the only method currently that we could do that. So staff does recommend approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. The CBD Central Business District request is an extension of established CBD and aligns with the future land use designation of urban core. The zone change appears to be, the zone change request appears to bring an existing residential structure on site into compliance with current zoning ordinances. We recommend approval. I'll happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing no questions, we're going to open this up for public hearing. Z1 2026, would anyone like to speak in favor? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against? All right, we're going to exit public hearing. Commissioners?
Make a motion for approval. This request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Z1 2026 passes.
All right. Next case, Z2 2026, Infinity Investments LLC. This is a request from R1 Single Family Residential District to R3 Three Family Residential District. This is a request of 20.16 acres located at 1167 Mile Ferry Road. It's a tract with area of steep and moderate topography and is wooded. It's in the South Clarksville planning area. The applicant's statement to provide affordable housing on this property. The extra density will help with some topographical challenges on the property. Would be an extension of existing R3 zones immediately to the east and west. This would connect the two R3 areas. Staff comments or concerns. Gas and Water said no gravity sewer was available. Possible off-site sewer lift station upgrades would be required. A traffic assessment was required and submitted to the street department due to the potential acreage. They received and it was in compliance with the guidelines. You can see the report for further details. CDE requested them to contact them ahead of time if it's rezoned to plan out the electrical plan for the property. And the school system listed their capacities of the schools there on the list. Historical estimate for this property would be 100 units. Applicant statement is 74. There are some severe topographic issues on some of the property, which lessens that from our historic estimates. On page 47, you'll see the overall site. On 48 is a zoomed in version. On 49, you can see the current zoning of the property. And on page 50, you'll see the future land use map stating suburban neighborhood with commercial industrial hybrid to the north. Not on your tablet, and I'll call your attention to the screen. I believe we've got a map of the floodplain. I don't think that made it in your tablet at time. We'll put that up on the screen here in a second. There it is. So you can see that the R3 to the west is separated by a draw and a floodway between those two properties. So there is still R3 to the east, but to the west it is kind of out on a little peninsula out there. Staff does recommend disapproval of this, being inconsistent with the overall goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. The future land use opinion map designates these parcels as suburban neighborhood. Large areas of R3 moderate density residential within this designation do not reflect the intended development pattern for the area. The South Clarksville planning area and the growth and development framework of the Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan discourages development on steep slopes due to increased risk of erosion, higher construction costs, and other safety factors. Access to this site is limited to the intersection of Ashland City Road, the 41A bypass, which serves as the sole connection and major network. The submitted traffic assessment identifies a level of service E for the southbound approach. This negatively contributes to associated traffic safety concerns. In addition to the above referenced traffic safety and level of service, the road serving this site, 7 Mile Ferry Road, is described as a substandard 16-foot wide road. The road is adjacent to an area of steep topography, which makes improvements to it, such as widening and sidewalks, difficult to construct. Additional study or assessments are necessary to determine the feasibility of the required improvements. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing no questions from commissioners, we're going to open up.
I'll do.
Go ahead, sir.
Were there other land use suggestions made to the applicant, Mr. Tyndall?
I did not have any conversations prior to submission by the applicant, but I don't believe any other zones were discussed before applying.
Anyone else? All right, we're going to open up public hearing on Z2 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor?
Hello, my name's Ricky Rita. I'm representing this property today. It's 20 acres. I'm asking to put 74 houses on 20 acres. Property's been for sale for 16 years. It's been on the MLS. In 2009, October, it was $455,000. 2015, it went to $318,000. 2018, it went to 374, and then in 2024, they asked $425,000 for it. We border R3 with Mike Greenfield across the water area that Mr. Tyndall was speaking of. There's 900 foot of road frontage there. I can get across that waterway. We do it. It can be done. It would help coming in off that side. I also have measured North 7 Mile Ferry. In front of my frontage is 18 foot wide. We need to add 2 foot to it. I'm willing to enhance the road. I'm willing to go down to that stop sign, talk with the street departments, put a turning lane in, put a straight lane in, and put a lane coming in. It don't have that now. There's a lot of things I'm willing to work with. I gave a traffic study for the good faith here to show that it is presentable. Across the street from my property is R3, and it's 600 foot of road frontage. I feel this is perfect what sits in Montgomery County. Normally when you touch properties and you touch it by both sides with so much road frontage, this type of zoning gets approved. Mr. Long, you spoke of, did I come in here? I didn't really see the difference between an R2A and an R3. It's 20 acres. I'm looking at 74 houses. If it was R2A, I still get 74 houses. So I feel it's the best zoning for this property. I think it'd be good for Clarksville. We need housing. The regional planning back in October of 25, maybe September of 25, we said at the Wilma Rudolph Pavilion, Mr. Tyndall had the study done. We need 5,800 doors a year into 2020 to 2040. That is somewhere in the neighborhood of 65,000 doors. I don't know where else we get this at. I'm asking for your approval today, and any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of Z2 2026? Seeing none, would anyone like to speak against Z2 2026? All right, we're going to exit. Oh, all right, we hung on for you.
Take a moment. I'm Charles Smith, and I'd like to thank you all for your service on this commission. Public service doesn't pay well frequently, and you hear a few complaints along the way, and I appreciate you folks' willingness to do this. I'm here, the president of the Montgomery County Conservation Club is here, and suddenly he got cold feet and said I needed to speak, and he's going to need to speak. I've been a member of the Conservation Club for 30 or 40 years. It's down at the end of 7 Mile Ferry Road. It gets a lot of traffic in and out of there for our members and a few residents along there, but it's a very narrow road. As I understand, the school board will not run a school bus down there to pick up a child of the tenant who looks after our property. So that tenant has to bring the child up to the top of the hill. It's 7 Mile Ferry Road is a road that's very narrow. If someone comes out with a boat, you have to basically one or both of you have to pull off the road for you to pass. But in addition to my experience with the Conservation Club, I've had 30 or 40 years of experience with the Rita family. Rick's mom operated Bruni's for many years, and some of you folks may know that. And I consider myself to be a friend of Rick. He's an excellent builder, an excellent contractor. The problem is with the access to 7 Mile Ferry Road. The 20 acres touches some other streets and roads, and we believe that could provide better access to his property and not compromise 7 Mile Ferry Road. So that's basically our concern, that we think the potential traffic on 7 Mile Ferry Road is going to make things difficult, if not impossible, for residents as well as the
pre-existing Conservation Club and Clarksville Boat Club. Be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, sir. All right, would anyone else like to speak against Z2 2026?
I'm speaking on behalf of the club also. My name's Virgil Nunn. The traffic concern going up and down that road is really a concern, y'all. If we don't have anything against Rick doing this, we just wish he would try to come in from a different angle and just leave 7 Mile Ferry Road alone because it's so tiny. Getting in and off that bypass around 4:30, 5 o'clock every day I'm gonna tell you, it's dangerous. And that road will not support that kind of traffic, and the intersection won't either, I don't think. So that's just our concern. Like I say, it's nothing, if he wants to build it, that's fine. Just come in from a different angle, because I don't know how much road front you're actually showing there on that piece of property where the access is, but it's not a lot. It can't be much more than 70 or 80 feet. And that doesn't leave a lot of room. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else against Z2 2026 that wishes to speak? All right, seeing no one. Mr. Reeder, would you like to rebut?
I won't take up too much time here. I really appreciates everybody's concern and the nice words. I am friends with all these folks. My daughter is a member of the Conservation Club. I've used their ramps a lot. Just recently, I got a big favor out of them, needing it to use their ramp for several days while I built a new dock down there. So we are friends. I've spoke with the guys. I said, please come in. Stand for yourself. I'm going to stand for myself. And at the end of the day, we're still friends. I have mentioned to one of the club members that believes on the board, I actually want to donate a little bit of the property and give them a little red pad back there, and maybe we could add a few more garages in there. Now they've got a long run of garages, so it's something I'm already planning to do. I can't get in that area for any of the houses. This is 20 acres. There's still going to be a lot of trees left. And I have talked to Clay Greenfield. This would be the 900 road frontage to the west. He's talking to his dad now, which is Mike Greenfield. My plan, if I can, is to come off that road. If you don't sell me the property, it's Kingsbury's Bluff. There's 900 foot of road frontage that Mr. Greenfield has.
Right at that.
Yes, ma'am. I'm looking at the north property line. I've spoke again with Clay. He's talking with his dad. I haven't talked with Mike yet. It is my intention to go that way. If you don't sell it to me, then I'm still, I'm on that 7 Mile Ferry. And I thank you guys. But I just want you to hear that I am trying to work with everybody.
Real quick, are you going to be able to make some improvements to 7 Mile Ferry? Because that seems to be their main concern.
It would be, yes, sir. I measured it myself. Is there a spot that might be 16 foot? Very possible. In front of my road frontage, it's 80 foot. And I would take it on up to the stop sign there and get us what we need to be. Widen it to 20 foot, going back to I think it's the minimum city codes is a 20 foot road. I would be all ears. I've had several things approved in the past for parks that I've said I'd put in, and we do it. And I'm not here to tell you something I'm not going to do, and I'm going to follow whatever the best recommendation is to get that road built. And I really want to come off the west property line, which is Greenfield.
Can you tell me? I'm sorry. I'm new at pushing the button. Where is the stop sign? Would it be on Pump Station Road? So you would make the improvement from that corner of the property where it says take you from the R1 up not Kingsbury, I'm sorry, 7 Mile up to Pump, and that's where you would make the improvements from there up?
If the street department wanted me to take a left and go down to that stop sign like I was talking about, and given a turning lane, given a center lane, given a turn-in lane, it needs it. They're not but 75 foot deep, 100 foot deep. And I had another zoning in another spot, and the street department was like, we would love to see that happen. So we're here to work with it. If I could get an extra 5 lots out of the 74, well, that helps pay for that,
Yeah.
But there's not a lot going on that 20 acres, and I'll save everything I can save in there.
Ms. Friedman?
Thank you. You already answered one of my questions, and I appreciate that. That was was it Kingsbury we were talking about? If you are able to make that happen, and I'll be careful, especially on the council level. I don't have to be as careful here. I don't want to get into conditional zoning. But is your plan, if you were able to connect to Kingsbury, will you still also connect to 7 Mile Ferry Road?
No.
No.
No, there would be no reason. I'd actually probably gain a lot or two instead of cutting that hill down. I could stay up on and gain it.
And that makes sense. I was just trying to think for connectivity purposes, but that makes sense with what you're saying there as well. So, okay, thank you.
I do use this road a lot. I'm a member of the Clarksville Boat Club. It's been there since like 1954. I've been there since 2013, and so I am a member on this road too. I travel it a lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hold on, Mr. Chairman.
One more.
Yes, sir.
Rick, have you been working with a design professional on this? I mean,
I have. I've let Mr. Cal look at it.
Okay.
We've bounced it around. You know, we're tracking.
I'm looking at Cal here, and he does not. Have you assessed the connection to Kingsbury Court? Because I think largely our assumption, even though we knew it was going to require a lot of work, that 10.5% grade going up off of 7 Mile Ferry, that was going to be quite a lot of dirt moving out there, and the narrowness of the road. I can't say it would change our opinion, but I don't believe we considered that in our recommendation, that was an option considering the floodway. But if that's something you can cross, I'd be interested to see if was looked at.
Yes, sir. Garrett's in the back. He's my nephew. He'll be my partner on this, and we've spoke of it. Mr. Tyndall, we actually think once we put this culvert drain in to get across there, we'll have gravity-fed sewer. It's really close, and it don't have to have a pump.
Yeah, there's gravity on Kingsbury. That's right. We looked at that too. Like, where would your improvements come from? And I'm sure you don't want to run them all the way down 7 Mile Ferry if you don't have to. Just something to consider. I don't think we fully analyzed that aspect of this and solely focused on 7 Mile Ferry, since that's where your traffic assessment was. But given a little more comfort that this could go the other direction, can't say it would change the staff's recommendation, but it was not even looked at.
Yes, sir. It would actually help us if I could buy that property, because then I could possibly put some R3 on that road frontage of 900 foot. So it all plays together, and I intend to come off of there. But if you don't sell it to me, I'm in a bind. But that is my plan.
Okay. We got one more for you, I think. Ms. Streetman.
Mr. Rita, based on what Mr. Tyndall just said about that could possibly change their approval or disapproval, would you be willing to defer this for 30 days? And I'll leave it up to you. Would you be willing to defer it?
100%.
Do what?
100%.
And then that would allow you time to kind of work on what you're talking about. You guys could relook at it. And I'd rather get deferred here than at the council level, if you're okay with that.
Yes, ma'am, I am. I would ask for a deferral.
Okay. I'll wait till you're done and it's our turn.
Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to exit public hearing now. Commissioners?
I'd like to make a motion to defer this until the next RPC meeting to allow the applicant to kind of relook at the other options that he discussed today.
All right, we have a motion and properly made second for deferral of Z2 2026. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Z2 2026 is deferred, 30 days.
And for our folks who are here in opposition, if something materially changes with this, we will hold another public hearing, and you'll get notified for that as well. It may take 2 months to get through this discussion, but we'll work on it. Next case up, Z3 2026. That starts on page 52 on your tablets. This application of John Mark Holloman, 3.31 acres, currently zoned R1, requesting to go to R5 residential. This property is known as 2610 Ashland City Road. It's in a large existing tract with a single-family home on site. This is in the Sango planning area, and the applicant's statement is to extend the existing R5 development. The department said that off-site gravity main extension and water main improvements require fire flow calculations beforehand. That's for development side of things. And CDE said to contact them ahead of time for an electrical plan. No other department comments or concerns. This was below the threshold for a traffic study at just the 3 acres of R5. And the Clarksville Montgomery County School System listed their capacities of those schools listed. Historic estimates would put this at 40 units. On page number 55, you'll see the overview of the property. We rezoned at their request a couple years ago to the west, that R5 with the R1 subdivision that's under construction behind it. So this property was not added at the time. It has been added since. Page 56 is a closer view. 57 is the current zoning map of the area. And 58 shows that it's a suburban neighborhood future land use designation. Back to page 54, the recommendations for approval. This request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. This parcel is designated suburban neighborhood on the future land use map, which supports limited attached housing and increased density along major transportation routes. Ashland City Road serves as a major transportation route for this area. The adopted comprehensive plan's housing goal encourages a variety of housing types within the community, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing no questions, I'll open up a public hearing on Z3 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against Z3 2026?
Joe Van Duzen, 3214 Quincy Lane. I think I just have more of a question regarding access for this property. I think this property has an existing driveway. If this is being combined with the R5 next door, I would prefer that there be less access on Ashland City Road, just to maximize safety on that road. That's the only question I had, if that has to be combined. I know that's probably a TDOT decision, but.
Yes, sir. It doesn't have to be combined, but knowing what was approved, those two R5 subdivisions do access Whispering Pines Way, which is the new road that goes north-south there. We would anticipate that this be an extension of that since it's the same developer.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak against Z3 2026? All right, seeing none, we're going to exit public hearing. Commissioners?
I make a motion for approval based on the request being consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Z3 2026 passes.
All right, clicking right along. Z4 2026, application of Terrence Burney. This is currently zoned M2, requesting to go to R2A. It's 0.47 acres at 2075 North Ford Street. It's currently a single-family home in a dilapidated condition, and the applicant's statement is to provide a single-family infill development. This is in the New Providence planning area. Previously in 2023, the application requested to go from M2 to R4. It was approved by the Planning Commission and disapproved by City Council. In 2024, the applicant attempted again to go from M2 to R4, again denied, and they're requesting today for R2A. Department comments and concerns. The Gas and Water said check for fire flow in the area, and CDE said contact for an electrical plan prior to construction, and the Clarksville school system provided their capacities of the schools listed. On page 62 is the overview of the property. And page 63 is a little closer view. And page 64 is the future land use map. Now, we'll say a little disclaimer. We looked at a little more of a zoom out, I think, when we made the future land use map in this area. And this is a parcel that, because it was existing M2 at the time, I think it got put in with the manufacturing and industrial. It is the last remaining M2 parcel on North Ford Street, whereas everything else is R4 in the area. Again, the quarry is to the rear, and I think it was zoned M2 back in the day due to that. Back to page 61. Staff does recommend approval. The request is consistent with the overall goals of the adopted comprehensive plan, but appears to be in conflict with the future land opinion map, which I just mentioned. Future land use opinion map identifies this parcel as commercial industrial hybrid. However, the most recent investments in the area are residential in nature and appears to be successful and well received by the immediate area. The proposed R2A single-family zoning classification will remove the current M2 general industrial zoning from the parcel and will be much more compatible with the North Ford Street residences. The adopted Clarksville Montgomery County planning housing goals, encourage a variety of housing types within the community. This was kind of a tricky one for us because we would have liked to seen the R4 match the other R4 that was done just recently to the south of it, but we understand the applicant wanting to do it, and the R2A is better than the M2 that's currently there. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Commissioners, any questions? Seeing none, we're going to open up public hearing on Z4 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor? Would anyone like to speak against Z4 2026? I'm going to exit public hearing. Commissioners?
Make a motion for approval. The adopted Clarksville Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan's housing goals encourages a variety of housing types within the community.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Z4 2026 passes.
Okay. Z5 2026, application of Calvin Lagan with Lagan Home Builders. This one is 0.38 acres, currently zoned R2D, requesting to go to R1, Single Family Residential District. It's known as 1640 Evans Road. It's a cleared residential parcel. The applicant's statement is to build one single family home. Previous zoning history, earlier in 2025, they requested to go from RM1 to R2D, and it passed both City Council and Planning Commission. They're requesting to go back to R1 because of a blue line stream in the rear, which does not allow it to build a duplex, and you cannot build a single family home on R2D currently. We hope to change that in our adopted future code, but currently R2D is a duplex only lot. Department comments and concerns. The blue line stream along the northern property line was identified, and they'll just have to take consideration of that during construction. CDE said contact for an electrical plan, and the school system comments listed of their capacities. On page 69 is the property overview. 70 is a closer view. 71 is the future land use map. This is a mixed residential neighborhood. It's a mix of duplexes, townhomes, single-family homes, and other types of properties, all within that Evans Road and Garrettsburg Road area. And you can see the zoning map and the variety of zones in the area on page number 72. All right, back to 68. The staff does recommend approval. The current R2D two-family residential district appears to be the correct zoning classification. However, the blue line stream along the northern border of the property proves difficult to accommodate a duplex structure. The proposed R1 single-family district will afford the ability to construct a single-family home on site, and the comprehensive plan's housing goals encourage a variety of housing types within the community. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing no questions, we're going to open up public hearing on Z5 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor? Would anyone like to speak against Z5 2026? I'm going to exit public hearing. Commissioners?
Motion to approve. The proposed R1 single-family residential district will afford the ability to construct a single-family home on site.
Second.
All right, we have a motion properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Z5 2026 passes.
All right. As mentioned earlier, Z6 was deferred till next month. So now Z7 2026, application of Chris Blackwell. This is 2.92 acres, currently zoned R1 single-family residential district, and requesting to go to R5 residential district. Property is located on Pembroke Road. It's 2 single-family lots with a single-family home on each lot and several mature trees on the property. This is in the North Clarksville planning area, and the applicant states to develop a small-scale condominium development with detached housing units. Previously, in 1985, this was originally zoned to the R1, and in 2024, the applicant requested to go to R4. Staff and Planning Commission were for it. Council denied it in a narrow vote, if I remember. Department comments. Gas and Water said no gravity sewer is available. Off-site sewer main extensions will be required to this property. CDE Lightband said contact us for an electrical plan prior to construction. No other department comments and concerns, and the school system listed their capacities of the affected schools. Historic estimates would put this at 35 units. On page 76 is the overview of the two parcels. 77, a little zoomed in. On 78 is the future land use designation. This calls from here to the corner on the east side, mixed residential neighborhood, which is open to a variety of housing types. And on 79, you can see the zoning map of the area with some R4 and C2 to the south and to the east. Back to 75, the staff does recommend approval. The request is consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. The North Clarksville planning area and general land use goals recommend that a continued mixture of housing types that are compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods and in close proximity to existing jobs and commercial nodes. The RPC staff will also seek inclusion of amenities within the new development as indicated in the general recommendations of the North Clarksville planning area and the R5 designation. The future land use opinion map indicates that the property should be part of a mixed residential neighborhood, and it is the intent of the future land use to accommodate a diversity in housing needs to include workforce and affordable housing along major roads and near commercial areas. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing no questions, I'm going to open up public hearing on Z7 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor?
Larry Riccone, 308 South 2nd Street. Hopefully this one's a little easier than the one before. Just by, history, Mr. Tyndall's kind of laid this out. This came before. It came through a staff recommendation for approval. It left the RPC for approval and didn't make through the city council. There was an issue with Buc-ee's at that point. I think the Buc-ee's was kind of the deciding factor that threw a wrench in this. So we're back today. We waited the time. This is going to be a small, tiny house type development. It'll be self-contained, and in my world, you hear a judge can make a statement, but a judge speaks through their rulings. The court speaks through orders. This board and the city council and the county commission, they speak through their vote, but they also speak through what they say. And Mr. Blackwell attends these meetings. He attends the city council and the county commission meetings. And we hear over and over again, we need affordable housing. We need housing that people can get into. Mr. Reed actually referenced that we're going to have a housing shortage. So these are smaller, tiny home type style houses or smaller units. They're going to be rental, be a self-contained development. So everybody in there will, kind of have the same type of experience in living and amenities. So you're not making your neighbors upset, but you're also going to have lower rent. So it's a way for someone to, start having a place for their own, have a standalone home, and have rental, and it'd be a little lower rental market. So we're excited about this project. I was involved in one in a different county. This will probably be the first of these I know of in Clarksville. But we think it addresses a need that we have. We ask for your support.
Thank you, sir.
I thought you were going to ask me something.
All right, would anyone else like to speak in favor of Z7 2026?
Joe Van Duzen, 3214 Quincy Lane. So I want to take this opportunity to really talk about what has already been said and what's covered in the comprehensive plan. This is really a good opportunity to really give our elderly and empty nesters a way to downsize an aging place into a place that they can afford with lower utility costs and lower maintenance. And also, people my age and younger often don't own houses. And this is a way for them to be able to reach home ownership and build up over time through starter houses in that. The comprehensive plan or the housing needs assessment for this for the rental rate of these type of units through 2029, we're going to need 1,073 of units in the category of rental of $603 to $1,004. I think that this really should have been passed as a R4 when it hit city council, but it didn't, and it is what it is. But I strongly recommend that this board and also the city council strongly considers that taking care of people starts with them being able to find a house that they can actually afford to live in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of Z7 2026? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against Z7 2026? All right, we're going to exit public hearing. Commissioners?
I have one question. So we're good with the R5 zoning on this. I know last year there was, I remember this one very, clearly there was a lot of time spent discussing this on the floor, and that was one of the things we discussed with the new the zoning rewrite was making sure that we had a way to include these small homes so that there wouldn't be an issue. We're good with this zoning request to be able to do that.
We were good with the R4 with the code department, allowing for multiple units on a single parcel. After consultation with the code department on this one, they are equally comfortable that as long as they are not individually sold off, that it's a part of a community, an apartment community. We anticipate that these will be smaller individual rather than a townhouse style like you traditionally see.
Right.
But the code department has blessed that already in writing, so that we don't have any problems down the line. I think what happened at City Council last year, some questions were raised between the Planning Commission when the word tiny home got brought up, and by the time I got to City Council, it grew legs. I think it failed 6-6. It was a very close vote, but we anticipate the same style of development with this one as you would have received with the R4, just a
Okay.
different request.
I just wanted to be sure because I didn't want there to be a problem, like you said, down the road, because I was for it then, and as you'll see in a minute, my vote's not going to change on that.
Commissioners, any other questions, comments, motions?
I make a motion for approval based on the request being consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan, and based on the fact that we are in need of creating some ways for truly affordable housing for those in need in our community.
Second.
All right, we have a motion properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Z7 2026 passes.
All right, page 80 of your staff report. This is Z8 2026, application of Bryce Powers. This is 2.11 acres, currently zoned O1 Office District, and requesting to go to R2A Single Family Residential District. Property is known as 1018 Swift Drive. It's a semi-wooded tract with moderate topography and existing areas of concrete on site. It's in the South Clarksville planning area. The applicant's statement is to provide a single-family infill development. There's some previous zoning history. Back in 1997, this property was zoned O1. In 2024, they requested to go to O1 to R2A. Staff and Planning Commission recommended approval. Council disapproved it at the time. They waited their time, and they're back here with another request. Department comments and concerns. No gas and water comments. Street Department, no comments. Clarksville Electric Department said contact for an electrical plan prior to construction, and the school system listed their capacities of the schools listed. Historic estimates would put this at approximately 9 units for R2A. It is in the suburban neighborhood planning area. Page 83 is the overview of this property. Page 84 is a little closer view. As you can see, it does have a C2 neighbor to the south, but there is not the same owner. It's not the same connection to the property. So this is an individual parcel that does front Swift Drive in the end of the day. Page 85 is the future land use map. And page 86 is the current zoning with R2. This is an R2 neighborhood, a couple of R4 pockets around it, and then the C2 on Ashland City Road. You do have a couple letters in opposition below that to review. I'll go back up to page 82. The staff does recommend approval. This request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan. The R2A single-family residential proposal removes the O1 office district zoning that is out of character with the development pattern of the area and proposes a single-family residential district that is compatible with the established residences. And I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
All right, seeing no questions from commissioners, I'm going to open up a public hearing on Z8 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor?
Good afternoon, Bryce Powers, 46 Union Street. As Mr. Tyndall said, this is a 01 district inside a fairly substantial single-family neighborhood. The previous owner did ask, I think originally R6, then amended it to R2A, and that ultimately failed, as he stated. I then bought the property with the intent to use it in its 01 zone district. So I got a site plan approved for a 6,000 square foot office building for the extension of my business, as well as I think a 2,400 square foot storage building to go with it. As that progressed, we just kind of had reservations that this might not be the right place to do that. So I since found another location for those uses for my business, and wanted to kind of go back and look at doing this as a single family. The previous owner's plan was frontage lots on Swift Drive, and they were just narrow frontage lots. We have actually have a plan that Mr. Burchett has that we're bringing a little cul-de-sac off that actually will be in the pretty much lined up with the existing entry that's there now, and getting 8 lots. And so we're trying to, some of the concern last time was how those driveways were going to dump out on Swift Drive. We heard that, and we're trying to amend our plan to eliminate that as an issue. So we think it's a good use, getting it back to single family, having it not have driveways straight off Swift Drive. So sure appreciate your support and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Ms. Creeman?
Yes, of course, 8 lots, you're talking about, the average would be an assumption of 16 cars a day, or trips or whatever. If it stayed as 01 and was developed.
I mean, with our current vested site plan, I mean, it could be triple, quadruple that. I mean, it could be, we were going to use it much more than that when I was going to use it. Now, if this zoning doesn't go through, I assume I'll just market it as an 01 with an approved site plan. Again, don't think that's the best thing for the neighborhood, so we are trying to be respectful of that and go back to single family.
I agree. I was just kind of trying to get
Sure.
that comparison there.
Absolutely.
So thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. All right, would anyone else like to speak in favor of Z8 2026? Would anyone like to speak against Z8 2026? All right, we're going to exit public hearing, commissioners.
I make a motion for approval based on this request being consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
All right, we have a motion properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Z8 2026 passes.
We'll pick up with the last city case here, and it is on page 93 on your tablet, Z9 2026, application of Richard Collins. This is 3.47 acres, currently zoned C2, requesting to go to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District. The property fronts the north of Dover Road, US 79, east of Paula Drive, and west of Aurelia Lynn Drive. It's a level tract of land with equipment and trailers on site for sale. This is in the Lafayette Peters Mill planning area. The applicant's statement is this is a commercial property located on our arterial highway and plans to be used for truck and trailer sales. We believe this use and location fits the definition of C5 Highway and Arterial District, and we ask for your support. I'll pause there to say that truck and tractor sales, as you see on the pictures, are not permitted with C2. I believe they were discovered by the code department because there was no building permit needed for this, so that they just kind of showed up on site. This would bring this use into compliance, and we'll continue with our staff report here. A traffic assessment was required due to the proposed zoning acreage change. The street department reviewed that and was okay with the findings. A grading and water quality permit will be needed to be applied for any further development of the site. We're not likely to see this again unless they put a structure or paved parking on it. A grading and water quality permit and detention will be needed for further development of this site as well. On page 96, you can see the overall parcel, and on 97, there's the further zoomed in area. And on 98, you can see this is a corridor commercial designation along Dover Road in this area, and C5 is compliant with that. And on page 99 is the current zoning map, and you'll see a mix of C5 and C2 in the area. Staff does recommend approval. The request is consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. This parcel is identified as corridor commercial in the comprehensive plan, and C5 is consistent with the future land use designation. and a traffic study was submitted and accepted by the Clarksville Street Department. I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
I see no questions. We'll open up public hearing on Z9 2026. Anyone like to speak in favor?
Hello, my name's Brad Weekly, 108 Centerpoint Drive. As stated, this is a arterial highway, and we're requesting the arterial highway zone. To clarify about the existing trailer sales, I'm not sure if building codes was involved at all. They came to us with a site plan, so you will be seeing a building and a site plan on this. And I informed them that this was the incorrect zone. So this is bringing that parcel into compliance. The only concern that the owner has heard, I'm not sure if staff has heard anything from the neighbors, was about multifamily. Well, going to C5 actually removes the ability to do multifamily, so that sort of settled those concerns. But if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. If not, I'll listen for concerns. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of Z9 2026? Would anyone like to speak against Z9 2026? Come on up. Name and address, please, sir.
Eric Clark, 724 RS Bradley. So not necessarily to speak against, just to defer. I haven't been able to speak to the residents. Right behind that property, it is residential. I understand that corridor is commercial, but it is quite busy, so I also find it very interesting that the street department doesn't have an issue with lights over there. Street light, or I'm sorry, my mind just went blank. A stoplight or something of that nature, just because that corridor is extremely busy. And I would like to be able to confer with the residents in that area of what is there currently is a huge dirt pile with some trailers in front of it. However, there are houses directly behind that. So I would ask to have it deferred until a little bit more analysis could be done on my part specifically, respectfully.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Weekly, would you like to, I'm sorry. Would anyone else like to speak against Z9 2026? All right, seeing no one. Mr. Weekly, would you like to rebut?
Just a quick note that this is already existing C2. So the commercial ability is there. For that entrance, we would have to apply to a TDOT. It's a TDOT access permit, which they would then look into or have us look into that connection, and they would have to approve it to be able to tie to that road. This is actually, when you look at the traffic study, this is a minor upgrade if you actually look at the numbers. The level of service of the road does not change. You have any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to exit public hearing now on Z9 2026. Commissioners?
Motion to approve. The request is consistent with the overall goals and objectives of the adopted Clarksville Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and properly made second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Z9 2026 passes.
Do you want to do the one zoning case? Do you want to take a break after that? Probably got about 40 minutes left.
We'll just do it now. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We got a little bit more to do here, so we're going to take 5 minutes. We'll reconvene at 3:35, I guess. Thank you. All right, guys, we're going to get started here. Please have your seats. Turn it over to Mr. Tyndall.
Yep. Commissioners, please open the county zoning tab on your tablets. We do have one county zoning case, CZ1 2026. All right, this is the application of Ronnie Gano. Agent is Ligon Home Builders. This is 0.34 acres, currently zoned RM1, single-family mobile home residential district, which, as a reminder, we did amend that about 2 years ago to be a single-family mobile home or a single-family conventional built home on the property. The applicant is requesting for R3, three-family residential, which in the county allows for single, 2, or 3 unit houses on the property. This property is 947 Calvert Drive. There's currently a residential mobile home lot parcel. It's in the Lafayette Peters Mill planning area in the urban growth boundary. The applicant's statement is to remove the existing dilapidated trailer and redevelop into affordable housing. Gas and Water said gravity sewer main extension would be needed, and there were no other comments or concerns, and the school system listed their capacities of the schools on that list. We didn't put a historic estimate, but again, R3 could be a 1, 2, or 3 unit, or even a 4 unit, not with this acreage though in the county, development. It's in the suburban neighborhood planning area. Call your attention to page 4 there. You'll see where the property is located at the corner of Calvert Drive. A little closer view there. The page 6, the future land use map identifies this whole area as suburban neighborhood. And on page 7, you'll see the zoning in the area is predominantly RM1, R1, and R4 in some pockets. Staff does recommend disapproval. The request is inconsistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. The suburban neighborhood designation encourages, quote, limited single-family attached housing is appropriate as a buffer along major transportation corridors and as a transition to higher intensity uses, and this property does not fit that description. This proposal is internal to an established RM1 neighborhood. Increases in residential density are most appropriate along the outer edges of existing neighborhoods as a transition and buffer to more intense uses. And residential density should be limited in areas without adequate access to fire and EMS services. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing no questions, we'll open up public hearing on CZ1 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against CZ1 2026? All right, we're going to exit public hearing, commissioners.
I make a motion for disapproval because the request is inconsistent with the goals and objectives of the adopted Clarkson-Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan.
All right, we have a motion and properly made second for disapproval. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Got one opposed. CZ1 2026 fails.
All right, I think that's done with my portion for now. I'm going to rest my voice for a minute. I'm going to turn over the subdivisions. We do have a variance, and we'll turn that over to Brad.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tyndall. Commissioners, our variance case this month, subdivision variance case, is case number V1 2026. The applicant is Tailwater Meadows. The subdivision associated with it is Woodland Springs Section 3 cluster. As indicated, this is subdivision variance. The property is located south of Nussbaumer, east of Tobacco Road. It is within the city, and the corresponding subdivision case is case number S1 2026. There are two variances being requested. The first is to section 4.19, subsection 1 of the subdivision regulations. The length of a cul-de-sac shall not be shorter than 150 feet. The proposed cul-de-sac is 51 feet in length. The second variance is to section 4.3, subsection 2. No block or block face shall be greater than 1,500 feet. The proposed length is 1,579 feet. If you'll go to page 5 of your subdivision packet, you will see the aerial overview of the site. The following page, page 6, is the variance exhibit provided. It shows the block length in blue and the cul-de-sac length in green. If you want to see the subdivision, proposed subdivision, you can go on to page 10 for the master plan and 11 for the subdivision if that helps you to see the overall outline. Otherwise, going back up to the subdivision report, pages 2 and 3 are the staff review of the report. And then following that immediately is the department comments, of which there were no concerns provided. If there's any questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Seeing no questions, I open up public hearing on V1 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor?
Good afternoon, Cal Burchett with McKay Burchett Company, 1545 Madison Street. So this plan was previously approved, I think, in 2020. And we basically just copied and pasted what was previously approved. We weren't a part of that then, but I think at that time, short cul-de-sacs weren't in the subregs yet. And so that was entitled. They've been developing, we had approved grading plans based on that roadway layout, and we're basically just asking for your approval. The change is for us going to the cluster, but using the exact same roadway layout. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. The roadway layout, I think, like I said, the cul-de-sac was the same, and that block length was just a little greater. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Would anyone else like to speak in favor of V1 2026? Would anyone like to speak against V1 2026? We're going to exit public hearing, commissioners.
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? V1 2026 passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Case number S1 2026, that was the associated subdivision with the variance you just approved. Because that had a variance, it could not be on the consent agenda. So we will need to hold a public hearing for this one as well. Case number S1 2026, again, the applicant's Tailwater Meadows Incorporated. It's Woodland Springs Section 3 Cluster, preliminary plat, property south of Nussbaumer and east of Tobacco Road, 36.64 acres plus or minus, 102 lots are proposed. The zoning is R2 and it is within the city. On page 9, you'll see the aerial overview of the site. The following page is the proposed preliminary plan or concept plan, and then the next page is the actual preliminary plan. Going back up to your packet, the subdivision report, the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the 5 conditions listed, and department comments are listed below that. If there's any questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those. Thank you.
All right, seeing no questions, I'm going to open up public hearing S1 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against S1 2026? Exit public hearing, commissioners.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and properly made second. All those in favor? Any opposed? S1 2026 passes.
All right, moving over into site reviews. Case number SR8 2026 is Kinhua LLC is the applicant. It's 1955 Madison Street is the name of the development. It's approximately 1.27 acres, zone C5 within the city. If you'll go to page 10, you'll see the aerial overview of the site. The following page is the proposed landscape and site plan. There is a public comment, but it didn't make it into your packet, but I've printed copies for you that's in front of you.
Hold on.
Yeah. In case I misspoke, page 28 is the aerial overview. Page 29 is the proposed site and landscape plan. Staff recommendation is for approval subject to the 2 conditions listed: approval of all utility plans by the city engineer's office, and approval of grading, drainage, and water quality plans by the city street department to include road and sidewalk improvements as required. If there's any questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Seeing no questions, I'll open up public hearing on SR 8 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor?
Hello, Brad Weekly, Weekly Brothers Engineering at 108 Centerpoint Drive. I believe that this was pulled due to that email comment, so I appreciate your support. I think this is going to revitalize that square. It's been needing something for years. Unless you have any questions, I'm going to take my seat and listen for comments.
Thank you, sir. All right, would anybody else like to speak in favor of SR 8 2026? Would anyone like to speak against SR 8 2026? All right, we're going to exit public hearing, commissioners.
Recommend approval, subject to the following conditions. Approval of utilities plans, approval of gradings, and that's it.
We have a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion for approval and properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, SR 8 2026 passes.
Commissioners, just a little point of information for site plans and subdivisions, you can just reference the staff report. Just say, subject to the staff report. So.
Thank you so much.
Okay, case number SR 9 2026. The applicant is Banner Properties LLC. The site is called Banner at Ajax. The proposed use is apartments. 375 Bellamy Lane is the address. Approximately 11.25 acres. 180 units are proposed. The zoning is R4, multiple family district. It is within the city. And if you'll go to page, I'm going to double check this time, page 32, you'll see the aerial overview of the site. The following page, 33, is the site, and the following page of that is the landscape plan. And then the following several pages are some emails that were received. And if it would like, the commission can spend a few minutes looking at those. Staff recommendation is for approval subject to the following 3 conditions listed: approval of all utility plans by the city engineer's office, approval of all grading, drainage, and water quality plans by the city street department to include road and sidewalk improvements as required, and number 3, meet CDE requirements per CDE light band design at full cost to the developer. If there's any questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Seeing no questions, we'll open up public hearing on SR 9 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor?
Houston Smith, representing the developers, 2971 International Boulevard. This case was approved, I think, 4 or so years ago. We got all of our department approvals. They never pulled the trigger on construction. It wound up expiring, so we brought back the same plan. We had to do some updates to bring it up to current code. I think we had to add some sidewalk connections and move a couple little things around, but all in all, it's the same plan that was already approved. At this point now, we'll still have to go back to get our grading and drainage permits, go back to get the utility permits and have everything re-upped. But it does meet all the zoning codes, meets the landscape code. We're not asking for any variances. I can answer any other questions that may be had, but I guess I'll just listen for what the opposition has.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak in favor of SR 9, 2026? Would anyone like to speak against SR 9, 2026?
Afternoon. Leighton Brown, 397 Bellamy Lane. I'm one of the emails in there. I wasn't sure I was going to get over here today. Yes, this site plan was approved 4 years ago. Yes, this property has been zoned R4 for 40 years. Those aren't the questions before the commission. The question before the commission is, does this site plan meet the needs of the residents around the area that currently live there and the residents that will move into this apartment complex? There's been multiple questions today about the number of cars added to roads based on developments. Unless I'm much mistaken, the staff recommended disapproval originally of Z2 2026 because of the number of cars it was going to dump on the 7 Mile Ferry Road. A small road, and that was 74 houses. This is 180 units, scheduled for nearly 400 parking spaces, with one ingress and egress onto Bellamy Lane, a 20-foot road with no shoulders and no sidewalks. Bellamy Lane cannot handle 400 additional daily cars. It can't handle 200 additional daily cars. If you turn right, you'll hit a stop sign in about a quarter mile. If you turn left, you'll hit a stop sign at about a quarter mile, one on Warfield, one on the three-way intersection with Rossview Road. You can go down Stokes Road, but it's not much further than a quarter mile. Whenever there's a traffic problem on Warfield and traffic diverts up Bellamy Lane, it becomes bumper to bumper in a parking lot. And those of us who live there often have to wait till someone's nice enough to let us turn into our driveway. So one thing I want to be clear about, Clarksville needs homes, and I'm not against this development. I'm not against building apartments on this lot that's been built, zoned this way for so many years. I'm against this site plan because it doesn't allow, the infrastructure in place does not allow for this many cars. It doesn't allow for the traffic it'll create. This development at a minimum needs a secondary and possibly a tertiary ingress and egress. You have Stokes Road to the west and you have the Ajax property accessing Warfield to the north. The number of units could also be reduced to reduce this traffic. What I would like the commission to consider, put everything else aside, is this site plan right for this area? Yes, you approved it 4 years ago. Please look at it with fresh eyes. Take a look and see, is this really right? Or should some changes be made to make this better for the community that's already in place there? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak against SR 9, 2026? Seeing no one, would you like to rebut? No rebuttal? Okay. Commissioners, we'll turn it over to you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
And I'm trying to look at it and see for myself, so I apologize. Is there any kind of, with the number that will go here, is there any kind of dedicated turning lanes to this?
Brad and I were just discussing that. If Joe Green might be able to answer that, there was, I don't think, any improvements on it. I think it's just a curb and sidewalk on the north side, maybe some additional rounding out of the right-of-way pavement on that side, but I don't believe there's any turning lanes installed on there.
I'm happy to hear from the street department on this.
Come on up, Mr. Green, please.
Yes, I believe there are no turning lanes shown on the plans.
So nothing improving along in that area?
No.
Mr. Green, what can we accommodate in a 50-foot right-of-way?
So 20 feet of pavement is pretty standard. 50 feet we could accommodate a turning lane fairly simply and sidewalk.
And if they dedicate just a little bit of right of way, possibly a decel lane as well.
Correct. Yeah, you can get a lot with right of way dedication.
About 150 foot in each direction, probably for something this size. About 150 feet, 200 feet.
Of total right of way width?
No, length of the turning and yeah, okay.
I mean, I feel like we probably, I mean, again, this is quite a bit of traffic that it's adding there. I do feel like that's something that needs to be there.
I think it's within your right as a commissioner to take that in consideration with consultation with the street department. I don't think we have to defer it a month. I would like the engineer to kind of verbally say that they can accommodate that, or they can defer it a month if they'd like to, but I think it's within your wherewithal to ask for that improvement to that entryway.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Could we ask the engineer to come up? What? Sorry, did you
Please
have a
come on
question
up.
for him? Oh, well, he can hang up here, but he doesn't realize it.
If that's something that we want to look at, I would ask for a deferral so we can study it for the month.
Okay. I apologize, but I mean, it is a concern,
I understand.
and it was a valid one I thought brought up, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Also, is there any concern about people from Bellamy Lane entering Warfield if you're adding that many residents there, and they're like the resident said, the gentleman said, you're either going to the right out of there and you're going to go to a stop sign, or left and go to Warfield. And if you're going left from Bellamy Lane onto Warfield, at the majority of times during the day, it's Frogger. It's literal Frogger. And there's no middle lane there for people to get in and get over. It's just you're either in traffic or you're not. So I think that traffic right there, coming with the additional traffic that's going to be coming out of there, needs to be looked at.
Sounds like we need $1 million for a light from city council.
But you've only got like 100, 200 yards till the next light.
I hear you. I agree. But we did have the representative up here asking for a deferral, so we can kind of try to address these issues for us.
We'll look at the intersection of Bellamy and Warfield. The aerial's a little fuzzy for us to see on our tablets when we zoom in that far, but see if there is appropriate left and right turn lanes. As far as a signal, I'm not sure this triggers a signal, but we'll include that in looking at the entryways to the property.
Thank you.
I'll make him.
No, we're out of public hearing. Yeah, it's all up to commissioners. We're out of public hearing.
I make a motion for deferral into the next meeting to allow this, the entrance to be looked at more closely.
Second.
All right, we have a motion properly made second for a deferral of SR 9 2026. All those in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, we have a 30-day deferral on SR 9 2026.
Okay, Commissioners, I show our next case is case number SR 19. The applicant is Crest Properties. The name of the site is West Bel Air Townhomes. Its property is located east of Fort Campbell Boulevard, south of Concord Drive, and north of West Bel Air Boulevard. Page 74. Page 74, apologies for that. Page 74, again, SR 19, 2.62 plus or minus acres, 27 units are proposed. Property is zoned C2. This is within the city. If you go to page 76, you'll see the aerial overview of the site. Page 77 is the proposed site plan. Page 78 is the proposed landscape plan. And then going back up to the report, the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the 5 conditions listed. Approval of all grading, drainage, and water quality plans by the city street department to include road and sidewalk improvements as required. Final plat required prior to release of site plan. Approval of all utility plans by the city engineer's office. Meet CDE requirements per CDE lightband design at full cost to the developer, and road name approval by the RPC. If there's any questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Seeing no questions, I'll open up public hearing on SR 19, 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor?
Houston Smith, representing Crest Properties. I spoke with the neighbor during the little recess. I believe we got several of his concerns addressed, more property line issues, and he did have a few questions regarding the road. So I believe he's still going to come up here and try to ask those questions and possibly get some input from the street department. But I believe the majority of what we discussed was addressed. So,
thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of SR 19, 2026? Seeing none, would anyone like to speak against SR 19, 2026? Good afternoon. Name and address, please.
Good afternoon. Ann Murtha, 4168 Moore Hollow Road. So my concerns are that this is already a one-family neighborhood, and that putting all of these units, townhouses in there, it doesn't respect the current neighbors, people that are there already. It doesn't match that type of neighborhood. It doesn't align with that neighborhood. And then the road situation is problematic. Going out onto 41A, there's a lot of commercial there. It's difficult to get out onto 41A, and there's already lights close to that area. So I don't think adding a light would do it. Have been drainage areas in Bel Air already. The north end between East and West Bel Air flooded recently, and there's a creek bed there. And so the drainage situation is a concern. Again, I just think that putting townhouses in the middle of a neighborhood where people have already, they've already lived there for years, I think that negatively affects their property value, and it's disrespectful. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Would anyone else like to speak against SR 19, 2026? Come on up, sir. Name and address, please.
Edward Zeke, 6 West Bel Air Boulevard, and that's the property that I grew up in. It's, you got 27 acres on, or 27 units on 2.5 acres, 50 to 60 vehicles in and out, daily. The only exit out of that is a little spur that goes on to West Bel Air, and it doesn't reflect that on your map, but it exits at the top of a hill on a curve. It's a blind curve. I drive that all the time. You can't see what's coming at you. And also, as Ann said, you're about 400 feet from 41A at that point, and traffic coming down that road is still moving like it's on 41A. It's not, people aren't slowing down through there. So it's dangerous. And as she said, 41A, that traffic, majority of that's going to go out of that entrance to Bel Air there in 41A. And you got 7 lanes of traffic. You got all kinds of businesses that's been developed, on the other side of 41A. And a lot of people use Charlemagne, which goes towards 79 off the other side. And they're coming off Charlemagne, they're cutting across that between the two, and it's not a straight shot. You got to go over, get in a turn lane about 200 feet, and then turn again. And so you're looking at people coming at you head on, both directions, from businesses and from the other side of 41A. What else? And talked about, like I said, I grew up there. That creek has flooded historically, and then recently you're getting a lot of flooding where East and West Bel Air come together in the northwest part of the Bel Air subdivision, and that's been flooding way more than it used to. So it's getting worse, not better. And that creek has eroded considerably since I was a kid. I mean, that water's running through there and making it worse. Ann and I, we canvassed the Bel Air subdivision, talked to a lot of people. There's not one single homeowner we talked to that thought this was a good idea. Unfortunately, people said they were going to show up here today, and they haven't come. But we spoke with no one that thought this was what they wanted. I mean, like Ann said, they bought into a single-family development, and that's what they want. There's no recreation area planned in this development, no open spaces, and you're talking about sidewalks. Well, there's going to be a sidewalk possibly that comes out to 100 feet off this development. Then after that, you dump into the street. There is no sidewalks in Bel Air. And so kids coming out there riding bikes or whatever out of this development, like I say, it's dangerous. What else? That's about it. Like I say, this acreage, my parents bought there in '58. They didn't deem this area to be developable back then, and I don't see anything that's changed that makes that a good idea at this point. I mean, all that development's going to drain into that creek, and on the backside of that, going out to Concord Drive, which is another proposed single-family type development, all that water is going into that same creek. So, I don't think it's a good idea. Questions or?
Time's up, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, would anybody else like to speak against SR 19-2026?
Good afternoon. I'm Irvin Myers. I am the homeowner on 12 West Bel Air Boulevard. After talking with one of the site managers there, my property line would not be touched. However, my main concern is the road. That's a one-car road. That's not a two-lane road. Where my driveway is, and this is not my fault, this is how the property was built, because it was built there in 1955. When I back out, I have to back out into my neighbor's driveway to get out. Even if I want to back into my driveway, I have to pull forward in her driveway to back down my driveway. Because the way my driveway is to that dead-end road. That's how they built it, okay? That is a safety concern for me right there. There's no place to widen it. And if you do widen it, now you're coming over into my property. So it's not only for everybody's safety that's coming through there, it's my safety. Okay. When I work in Nashville, and when I get home at night, and that one little light up there is good because I'm the only one there me and her. But all that traffic come through there, I have no way to pull over and to get out, which I'm afraid I'm gonna get hit, then open the gate, then you're gonna have complaints. Hey, this guy's always stopping in the road, he won't let us pass. Yeah, because I gotta get into my gate. That's the only way I can get into it. That is a safety issue right there with that road. It's not wide enough for that traffic. However, if the street engineer, street manager can find a different way to come in, maybe, or let's rework another way to come around to get to it. I don't know. I have walked back there as far as I could, and I just don't know no other way to get in and out besides the road there. And I do understand the city of Clarksville owns that road. But my main concern is safety, my safety. I get hit, somebody runs into me because I'm trying to pull in or pull out of my driveway. Who's going to be responsible? Not me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith, would you like to rebut?
If there's specific questions, I could try to answer them. I do know that the stormwater's been a major concern about this site and the single-family subdivision that we're also doing on the other side. There's been a tremendous amount of property given up on that single-family side in order to create some more stormwater areas to alleviate everything going on with this piece and the single-family piece in order to not impact everything going on downstream.
What about the concerns of the width of the road from the previous speaker?
And is there a way to create a different entrance?
There's no way to create a different entry. And we have not studied the road coming out. We've been looking at this one, but during the permitting process with the street department, that'll probably be something that comes up, but it has not been looked at this point.
Houston, your plan is to extend that roadway, the pavement on that roadway, which would extend beyond his driveway. Is that correct?
No, his driveway will be basically the end of where we tie in.
Okay.
So where it shows the new pavement, that's really where the pavement ends now. So it doesn't go all the way through the current right-of-way. It stops 50 feet or so short. We'll have to extend through that part, but that is the intent right now, is to go to that location. If we go any further, it will get into those driveways that are along that that short section of road.
We talk all the time about a minimum width of 20 foot of pavement with the street department. I don't have a scale right now. I can't tell if there's 20 foot of pavement on that road right now. Would you be okay to at least get the remaining pavement up to 20 feet, working with Joe? 22 feet? 20, yeah. Would you be willing to work with the street department upon your road plan for that extension, just to assure that there's 20 foot for the remainder of that short road? I mean,
That's
it's
just
hard
going to
to
be
tell
part of
what's
the
out
permitting
there.
process. I haven't studied that, so I'm not
Mhm.
able to give an answer of what it looks like out there, what kind of dimensions there are. But we do have to still get a permit from him. So,
Any other questions for Mr. Smith? Thank you, sir.
all right.
No, ma'am. Sorry. You can talk to him individually back there if you'd like to. All right, we're going to exit public hearing. Commissioners?
Make a motion for approval.
All right, we have a motion properly made second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? All right, 1, 2, 3 ayes. All those against?
Aye.
All right, 2 against, and we have SR 19-2026 passes.
3 to 2.
Mhm.
Okay, our next site review is on page 79. That's case number SR 2026. The applicant is Mylar Development LLC and Sid Hedrick. The name of the site is Woodmont Landing. The proposed use is multifamily. The property is at 819 Woodmont Boulevard, 3.81 plus or minus acres. 56 units are proposed. The zoning is R4 multifamily, and this is within the city. If you'll go to page 81 of your subdivision packet, you'll see the aerial overview of the site. On page 82 and 83 are the landscape plans. And page 84 is a public comment that was received. Going back up to the subdivision report, the staff recommendation is for approval subject to the 4 conditions listed. Approval of all utility plans by the city engineer's office. Approval of all grading, drainage, and water quality plans by the city street department to include road and sidewalk improvements as required. Approval of CDE light band at full cost to the developer, and plat approved and recorded. If there's any questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
All right, seeing no questions for staff, I'll open up public hearing on SR 20-2026. Anyone like to speak in favor?
Good afternoon again. Cal Burchin, McKay Burchin Company, 1545 Madison Street. We are good with the staff report and those conditions. And the development team and owner are here if you have any questions for them or me. I'd be happy to answer anything.
Thank you, sir. All right, would anyone else like to speak in favor of SR 20-2026? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against SR 20-2026? All right, we're going to exit public hearing. Commissioners?
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, SR 2026 passes.
Case number SR 22-2026 is on page 90 of your staff report. The applicant is Providence Builder. Name of the site is Providence Builders Field Office Number 2. The proposed use is office and storage at 814 Crossland Avenue. The property is zone C2 and in the rear R3. The growth plan is within the city. If you'll go to page 92 of your packet, you'll see the aerial overview of the site. And the following page is the site and landscape plan. I will point out that there was a landscape waiver that was withdrawn. Going back to the subdivision report. Again, on page 90, you'll see the staff recommendation for approval, subject to the following 3 conditions listed. Approval of all utility plans by the city engineer's office. Approval of all grading, drainage, and water quality plans by the city street department to include road and sidewalk improvements as required. And finally, meet CDE requirements per CDE light bands design at full cost to the developer. If there's any questions for the staff, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
All right, seeing no questions, I open up public hearing on SR 22-2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor?
Good afternoon again. Similar, we're good with these conditions. Y'all previously approved a building addition in the front on this. That was an immediate need for the owner. And now this is just asking for a storage facility in the back. The owner is also here. If you have any questions for him or me, just let me know.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of SR 22-2026? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against SR 22-2026? Yes, sir.
So based on my understanding of
Name and address, please, sir.
sorry. Joe Van Dusen, 3214 Quincy Lane. I was reviewing the Greenway and Blueway master plan produced by back in 2015. This parcel in the rear, putting up this new structure, will put that right in the collision path of future acquiring of easements or real estate for the Greenway extension that is planned to go down through the city of Clarksville and down through the county into Ashland City. So that's my objection to this site plan. If we approve this, we are increasing the cost of the acquisition of that property for the purposes of the Greenway. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I believe we'll have Mr. Tindall address that for you publicly. You can go ahead and have a seat, though.
Okay.
We've had several properties in this area, started with a couple there on Martin Street right nearby, and then a little further down Crossland over the years have owned this. This is a former rail bed that ran down Crossland Avenue before Crossland Avenue was even a thing. And the city owns some of it, not all of it. It is owned by private individuals for a large part. Some of it's split with other owners. The Greenway is largely owned by the city through Cumberland Drive, but at that point, or the street just before Martin Street there, I think it's Elder Street, South Elder, the Greenway would become more of an urban sidewalk, a larger sidewalk, we would hope, as it gets improved in this area, become a 6 to 10 foot sidewalk along Crossland Avenue till it can then join back up with what the city did recently further down Crossland Avenue, which gets you out to Madison Street. That was the city's help there from the highway department on Pageant Lane all the way out to Madison Street to get that sidewalk out there, be a portion of that Greenway around the Lowe's property, and behind there, the Greenway would then be able to pick up, get over to the bypass, get across the bypass, and continue down to Ashland City. So it's a portion that has unfortunately been lost over the years due to ownership and development in the area, but there's alternative plans to use the urban sidewalks instead of a true Greenway. And just for this area, we have similar issues downtown with getting the Greenway through downtown, like on Spring Street and stuff like that. So unfortunately, there's concessions that have to be made, and this is one area where in order to continue the path of the Greenway, we will have to probably just use sidewalk in a couple of the blocks instead of a true Greenway.
Thank you, Mr. Tindall. All right, would anyone else like to speak against SR 22-2026? All right, seeing no one, we're going to close. Oh, would you like to rebut, Mr. Burchett? All All right, we're going to close public hearing, commissioners.
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, SR 22-2026 passes.
All right, we're now on to the other business portion, and if you want to open that tab, we do have a couple different pieces. The first is just our monthly P&L for December and January. I will offer them both up as one motion.
Make a motion for approval.
All right, we have a motion properly made second. All those in favor? All right, profit and loss is passed.
Thank you. Beginning on page 9 and going through page... We discussed this last month and at the informal, is our annual audit, which is submitted to the State Comptroller's Office. It goes all the way to page 59. So, again, for the many, many years in a row, we've had an unaltered, clean opinion on our audit. It's available online through the Comptroller's Office or requesting it from us. Things are looking good. We didn't have any findings. One slight internal control that we just had to add one extra signature to something, but it was a recommendation by the auditors that we do that. And we've written a note to comply. I'll be happy to try to answer any other questions. Any real difficult questions, I'll defer to Ronnie Gray, but just asking you to accept the audit.
Make a motion to accept the audit.
All right, we have a motion properly made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, audit report is accepted.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll send that on to Ronnie if he's not listening. Subdivision regulation update will be deferred pending the outcome of letter D. As discussed in the informal last month and this month, in order to comply with the state public chapter 994, we need to request the city and the county to allow the planning commission to defer platting to the planning commission staff. This resolution to be signed by Mr. Henley and myself today will be forwarded to the city and county if it passes here, asking them to give us the authority to let staff continue to plat as we have been for many years. I'll be happy to answer any questions. This does not require a public hearing. Do ask for your support on this, as this is a pretty efficient way we have it operating.
Comments? Motion? Mr. Long? Need a motion? No,
No.
that was not, shouldn't be there.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the resolution and a properly made second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, resolution passes.
Appreciate it. And then the last item of business is the plan of service for A1 2026, which is about 99 acres off of exit 11. This is an annexation of what's formerly known as the Boyd Pumpkin Patch. The Boyds, there's a house on there, and they have come to agreement with St. Thomas Ascension to build the hospital complex on this property, but it is just outside the city limits. We've gone through all the process of compiling the city and the county request. I really call your attention to page 71 there, and it's on the screen here. About a third of the property is currently zoned C2, and they're requesting for the rest to be C2. The plan I've seen is no multifamily on this. This is all for medical office buildings and hospitals. There's only 3 zones that can have that, C2, C4, and C5. So since the property is already majority C2, they were requesting to keep it that way for the intention of building a hospital. And in the next slide, Daniel, I think I might have broken down, on the property, the bottom bullets there, full service hospital, just short of 250,000 square feet, about 250,000 medical office buildings and separate buildings, 25,000 square foot of retail plaza, 25,000 square foot of high turnover restaurant, and a new EMS station. So that's what their plan of service does. Calls for, there's some cost to CDE to extend some new higher power lines over the interstate to get to the site. and they're working with gas and water. They will have to pay for the gas and water extensions. The biggest thing, and we've never seen this in a plan of service before, is CTS, the transit system, must serve hospitals, and they don't currently have a line that goes up 76 to meet the hospital or the park and ride facility. That will have to be accommodated once the hospital opens. So they have a couple years to work on a plan for that, but they will have to extend either a feeder line or a sub line or another route out to this site to serve this hospital. And that also will have to happen regardless if it's annexed or not. CTS does serve both the city and the county urbanized area, and this does fall in the urbanized area. I'll be happy to answer any questions. We're just forwarding a recommendation on the plan of service to City Council. This does require a public hearing.
All right, commissioners, any questions for staff? If not, I'm going to open up the public hearing on this plan of service A1 2026. Would anyone like to speak in favor? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against?
Well, I would like to speak in favor.
Well, jump on up here. Name and address, please.
Joe Van Dusen, 3214. So, president of Strong Towns, and big thing we talk about is sprawl, and this is one of the very limited instances that annexing new property is good for the ultimate health of the city, both public health and financial health. So I would support this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, would anyone else like to speak in favor of A1 2026? Seeing no one, would anyone like to speak against A1 2026? All right, we're going to exit public hearing. Commissioners?
Make a motion for approval.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a properly made second on A1 2026. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
That concludes my report.
A1 2026 passes. Last thing on the agenda, would anyone like to speak to the commissioners for 3 minutes, address the commission? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, motion to adjourn, thank you, approved.